Understanding long-term income needs can really help investors to figure out best allocations for maximum return. To discuss this in more detail, let's bring in Brett Gottlieb, president and founder of Comprehensive Advisor. So, Brett, retirement planning. I mean, first of all, planning being the key word, right? Should investors be keeping this in mind, and how so?
No question. We pretty much consider income the very first thing that you should be focused on when it comes to retirement. You want that to be your foundation or the base of your ultimate design in retirement. You've got to understand, hey, I may live 20, 30, 40 years in retirement and my paycheck is gone. I'm not getting a paycheck anymore. So what am I setting up to make sure that my income needs are met? You know, have I done my Social Security analysis to make sure that I'm creating a good Social Security distribution for myself and my spouse if I'm married? Maybe I'm divorced or widowed. How does that fit into the picture? Am I making sure that my pension income choices have been designed right? Did I take a spousal continuation? Was it a 50%, a 75, or 100%? How those two key things come into play has a lot to do with what your health is like and what your expected life expectancy is. These are all areas we want to really look at. And then we will look at your real estate. You know, do you have good real estate? One of the challenges we're seeing right now is because real estate is appreciated so much, a lot of people are selling their real estate, their rental properties, and we need to now reposition those assets into other sources and do the design around that income overall. It could be looking at annuities and see how they fit in the mix. And the whole goal is if you have a foundation that meets majority of your needs, you can then layer on your investments and have your investments like your dividend stocks and interest-bearing accounts provide kind of that supplemental income that you may be looking for.
Right. And, the brave men and women in the police force, the firemen and women, teachers, all get these great pensions. I understand well-deserved hard work and all that, but for regular folks who get paid, on the weekly or on the every other week, after at some point the income's gone, unless you win $2,500 a week on the scratch off or something. So when the income, the weekly income or monthly income is gone, what kind of, you just mentioned selling off some rental properties, for example, to really understand what are your income needs? How can I understand what will my income sources be? What will my needs be? How do I really paint that out?
So that goes back to, kind of the baseline of a plan. We use something called the retirement defense. It's a trademark plan that says, number one, what are your income needs? So budgeting. What are your expenses? What do you need to cover in retirement? Because as you said, that paycheck is now gone. And if you don't have a pension like a lot of the industry does out there, or some of the people that are the lucky few that still have, what's next? Well, we got to look at that Social Security. But all of it really doesn't matter if you don't at least have a baseline of what your expenses are. So as long as we know what our expenses are to live on a monthly basis, whether that's housing costs, that's your healthcare costs, that's your food costs, these are all things that are a baseline you have to have. Once you put those in place, now we can layer around and determine where's the best place to drive that income source from. Can you wait? Interest rates are really low right now. Since interest rates are so low in a lot of the spaces where your cash and your savings in a lot of bond areas, the retiree would typically put their safe money there to help generate some income. That may not work. So you have to, as we see, take on more risk, go into the dividend stocks, go into mutual funds that have dividends.
Well, tell me about that. I think you were noting that large caps provide some opportunities. Are there certain sectors? Is it, just buying into the S&P 500? What are you suggesting at this time?
So no question, Nicole, that we want to look and say for that additional supplemental income that we're looking to layer in there, you want to look at the large caps. You want to look at not necessarily in a particular sector, but looking at the fundamentals, the companies that historically have paid a dividend. They are in maybe a growth mode, especially through the things we've experienced from COVID. They are maybe in a value position, but they have a nice solid dividend. They have a history of paying it. They have a history of increasing it. Inflation is a concern. We talked a week or two ago about inflation and the CPI numbers. We're saying, hey, okay, we need to also keep up with inflation. So where can we do that? Can we make sure to structure our portfolio in a manner that provides income from good companies and is increasing income, again, going back to the Social Security planning and a lot of those other areas that create that foundation.
And growth or value or both?
I'd say probably both, on both sides. Again, looking at historically, how does that particular holding do in history? Have they been increasing their dividend? Have they been keeping a steady dividend? Have they decreased it? We want to look at that as well.
When we want to try and understand our income needs, I know you said set a budget and write down your costs. How long do you suggest someone does that prior to their date of retirement? I mean, is this something that, is it helpful to you if I have 20 years of what I paid out, or is it really just my last 5 years there anyway, or my last year?
I was going to say, I wouldn't even go back that far. Typically, we're telling most people you should start that conversation with your financial advisor 6-12 months in advance, get an idea of, hey, I'm going to retire. Here's my retirement date. Then make sure if you have a strong relationship with someone, they should be talking about this ahead of time and understanding what your needs are. But usually I tell people 1 month isn't enough. 12 months might potentially be too much, especially if you're close to retirement. So somewhere in that 6 to 9 month range of tracking, if you really want to get a good idea. One of the ways that we do it is we don't necessarily go from a budget standpoint. Watch your checking and savings account balances. That's a great way to really determine if you're spending more than your income that's providing, or you're spending less and you're saving more. It's a simple way without having to write down every single item that you're spending money on.
Yeah, Brett, it's tough. It's tough to even make the budget. I understand. So it's good to be on top of it all. Brett Gottlieb, thank you. President and founder of Comprehensive Advisor. Thank you.